Ellen DeGeneres covered up for Ghislaine Maxwell and all of the Epstein crimes, and today Katt Williams is going to be exposing all of this. So let's dive in and see what has to be said.
Ellen DeGeneres ran away from the U.S. weeks before the official release of the Epstein Files, and Katt Williams is now exposing exactly how she was allegedly connected to Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein had someone working for him in Hollywood, and reports are now coming out that Ellen was this person.
Her stories have changed so many times about what happens, when it happens, how it happens, with different versions. And each time she speaks, there's a different version.
And that is from the documentary that's just aired in the United States. That's come just off the satellite. For more, we're joined by US broadcaster Cooper Lawrence to dissect it. What did you make of Ghislaine Maxwell?
It reminded me of Nobody Taught Me How to Curtsy and I Didn't Inhale. There was a lot of this evidence that came out during the trial that suddenly she's like, no, it's fake. I mean, during the trial, they showed her that photo and she said, yeah, that's me, that's my apartment, I recognize it. And, it was one of the things that indicted her. Now suddenly it's a fake photograph.
On June 28, 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to engage in inappropriate conduct involving minors.
I think that when you have so many years of crimes going on and so many cover-ups with so many people, no matter who you are or how good you are, it becomes very difficult to keep all of your lies in order and to remember the things that you stated versus the things that you didn't say, and eventually things are going to cross over and you're going to start getting caught in your lies.
Along with a $750,000 fine. At the time of her arrest, Ghislaine was working as a recruiter for Epstein and helping him source more victims. She was convicted of 5 counts, including trafficking, following her role in and transporting girls for abuse between 1994 and 2004. Interestingly, this is also when Ellen shut down her show amid allegations of an abusive workplace and completely disappeared from the public spotlight.
Ellen DeGeneres and her wife Portia de Rossi have reportedly fled the US bound for the UK after Donald Trump's landslide victory. Numerous publications are reporting the couple have left the United States permanently. There are also reports the couple have put their Montecito mansion on the market. Entertainment publication The Wrap has the exclusive story and said, Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia de Rossi have moved to rural England, put their Montecito estate on the market and plan to never return to the United States, telling friends the election of Donald Trump was their primary motivation. Ellen DeGeneres has been a vocal Trump critic, so the move doesn't come as a surprise to most.
They're losing their minds.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very
she could
sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia. Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy Files.
Yeah.
Release the Diddy Files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name.
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites.
Now, I truly believe that Ellen DeGeneres was not a fan of Trump. Trump didn't believe in her beliefs, and she didn't like the guy. I mean, half the United States doesn't, and half the United States does. So it may have been one of these small deciding factors for her actually leaving the country, but the timing of everything just seems quite suspicious, as she left as all of the Epstein files are releasing, as the Diddy case was going on. 2 things that she's heavily involved in.
All of this could still be seen as a coincidence, but then you have Ellen's closest employee, Stephen Twitch Boss's death occurring at the same time, and the note he left. 2 months after Ellen fled to the UK and completely changed her appearance, Twitch, the executive producer for her show, committed suicide. In his note, he allegedly revealed that he could no longer be part of the dirty industry and apologized for letting everyone down. Twitch didn't give any details, but he talked about being stressed and ashamed for staying silent.
We're learning more tonight about the tragic side of Stephen Twitch Boss and the detailed steps he took to hide his plans. TMZ is reporting when Twitch left his home the day before his He took an Uber to a motel about a mile away. At the motel, he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach him. The motel manager says he checked in under his own name and never left his room. We also now know that Twitch left a note. Details have not been made public, but TMZ reports the note alluded to challenges Twitch had faced in the past.
Now, Twitch was a very loved personality on TV. The guy was always having fun. He always had a smile on his face. And knowing now that he was around and saw all of these terrible things happen, it has to weigh on a person to have to put forward that happy-go-lucky, always positive face to everyone when you're on camera, when really inside, you're getting beaten down by all the things that you've been seeing.
Entertainer Tyler Perry knows firsthand what that is like.
I want to take you back to a time in my life where I tried to commit suicide a couple of times because it was so dark. I thought the only way to make this better, this pain go away, is to end my life. Had any of those attempts happened, I would have missed the best part of my life.
This isn't a coincidence. Ellen shuts down her show after Ghislaine Maxwell is sentenced and flees when she realizes that she could be dragged into the mess. Katt Williams said that nothing that happens in Hollywood is a coincidence. You don't just shut down a show that makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year for no reason. Ellen was scared.
For the type of ratings we need and attention to be on this thing. See, what I'm saying is, in business, nothing is coincidental, or you will be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
He's talking about Biggie right here with the whole Puff Daddy and Biggie Smalls.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these businesses, and
but think about what you just think about what you just said. That's extremely thoughtful and powerful. It could only be what it was if it were those two. Those two, yes. Will Smith and Chris Rock. It could only be what it has been, yes. With those two black men.
If you put any other names together, the police are out on stage, they've cut to commercial, you didn't see what happened. By the time they come out, people have been removed, it goes on. It's certain ways things are handled when it's not intentional. When things go smoothly, but they seem chaotic, that means there was forethought and a plan.
Wow. He's even saying right here that like the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock was not something that was not planned. If it wasn't planned, it would have been cut and never seen, but that was a planned event.
But even if it looks like, yeah, Janet Jackson just had a wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, there's no such thing.
Correct.
I don't care who you blame.
I believe that.
Somebody benefited. Yeah. So in all of these situations, there's a business involved and there's real money involved, and somebody's benefiting from this thing that looks like, oh, that just happened. Nah, no way. No way.
As more and more Epstein Files are released, fans are looking back on Ellen's show and noticing horrifying similarities between what Ellen was joking about and what Epstein was doing on his island. For example, court documents show that Epstein was involved in harvesting stem cells from aborted fetuses and children. Reports point to genetics, reproduction, and long-term legacy ideas, with billionaire Peter Nygård also tied into the conversation. Now, look at what Ellen was promoting on her show.
Okay, let's talk about this facial that you're obsessed with. How many did you get the whole cast of Ocean's 8 to do this?
Not everybody.
Okay, good, smart ones.
Just those that I thought would appreciate it.
Okay, explain what it is.
Well, it's this way in which one forces through microneedling. It's like a little roller with these, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the
What are you pushing into the skin, Sandra?
Sarah?
Carrie? What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's skin from a Korean baby.
Now, she obviously felt very uncomfortable sharing that. It was not something that she wanted to say from a young person very, very far away. Pretty crazy stuff, but this is the type of thing that goes on with some of the upper elite.
Other celebrities were doing the same thing. According to some critics, Hollywood was involved in a coordinated effort to normalize this behavior. On March 20th, 2016, Steve Harvey interviewed Michelle Park, an Emmy-winning NBC host, who gave him a preview of Oprah Winfrey's favorite anti-aging cream by Skin Medica, which is made from the skin of underage individuals. The company claims Skin Medica uses skin fibroblasts that are used to grow and cultivate new cells. Conspiracy theorists claim celebrities use such products for eternal youth, linking the skincare industry's harvesting of neonatal skin cells to alleged elite exploitation.
I'm going to put a little on your hand.
I'd do that. Oprah did.
Yeah, Oprah did it. All right, so here, we're going to rub it right in.
How come?
You hear what he just said right there? We're kind of going over that quickly, but he says, I'll do it, Oprah did it, and this is how Oprah ties into all of this stuff. Oprah is someone that is looked up to in the industry, and anything that she does, anyone that she associates with is looked at as safe. It's got the Oprah approval. He said it right there, and I actually have a video coming very soon all around Oprah that you guys are not going to want to miss.
It's red.
I'll show you in a sec, Steve. So this is made from growth hormones of human...
Look, the wrinkles has just disappeared. I can't even ball my hand up.
So it's made from human skin.
He's funny.
I'm sorry, Steve.
You done sat up here and squirted somebody's private parts in my damn hair.
He is
What you
funny.
laughing at?
I'm sorry.
This your last time on the show. This your last time. Not coming up in here.
Chris Hansen also investigated these claims when he was looking into Epstein and arrived at the same conclusion as everyone else. There was a lot more than just sexual crimes happening on Epstein's island. Dozens of emails released by the DOJ show that Epstein was interested in using genetic engineering to harvest cells from children and clone them. These cells would then be sent as a form of medication to his friends with the promise that they would help them stay young.
Billionaire freakazoid.
Yes.
Know? And part of his deal, he's in prison in jail up in Canada, waiting, charges all over the globe. But his deal was that he would allegedly impregnate young women in the Bahamas, where he had a huge home, and then have them get abortions and harvest their stem cells of the fetuses to inject in himself as the fountain of youth. And we get into this in that documentary. And
wow.
Was Epstein involved in that sort of activity? I don't know.
That's where, and again, we just have to look at what we have and know what we don't yet.
Yeah.
But it's a question.
Yeah,
when you look at the context of the jerky stuff.
Yeah, and when you look at what other billionaire guys have done, were they in contact somehow? Obviously, there are some people who are in the concentric circles of associates.
When you put a lot of people, scientists, big brains, and millionaires and billionaires in rooms together, crazy things start to happen because you combine genius with money and crazy ideas, such as this eternal youth stuff starts to come to fruition. And it's not surprising to me that when you have people that are already okay with doing all of these other crimes come together, they think of even larger crimes to commit.
Katt Williams talked about this on the Joe Rogan podcast and said that the same producers and elites who control the industry are using their roles to source young men and women for trafficking to other elites. He even named Diddy and Epstein as the two heads.
Yep.
This is why those one world people exist, because it's a very powerful concept to have and far too lucrative and beneficial to not. Everybody is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it, and provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Right.
Supporters of these theories also point towards hidden symbolism in Ellen's show, which some people see as an attempt to normalize what was happening on Epstein's island. At one point, these elites even tried to get Katt Williams to join them. In a recent interview with Theo Von, Katt said that he was shocked to see just how powerful Harvey Weinstein actually was. Allegedly, Weinstein offered Katt the opportunity to be with any actress he wanted. These actresses were available to Harvey Weinstein on speed dial, and the only thing Katt had to do in return was stay silent and help them recruit more young men and women. Fans, aspiring models and actors, and especially child actors, are all preyed upon. Epstein was working as a scout himself, but you don't end up tracking hundreds of victims to the world's elite by working alone. Epstein had several people working for him as recruiters, going around and trying to manipulate individuals. Ghislaine was just one of these recruiters. There are probably dozens of other recruiters who were never arrested.
Yes, actually, Ghislaine Maxwell was a perfect recruiter. Because of how she portrayed herself, she came across to all of these young girls, many of which didn't have much. She came to them looking proper, looking rich, looking successful, and offering them opportunities that were out of this world.
The only reason that Ghislaine ended up being caught was because of the sheer scale of her abuse. Ghislaine recruited hundreds of underage individuals for Epstein. She would look out for vulnerable teenagers who needed help or money and position Epstein as a savior who wanted to help them. Multiple victims have confirmed that the worst part about Ghislaine was how she would target you when you were at your lowest and use your pain to force you to do things you didn't want. Recently, one of Ghislaine Maxwell's old interviews went viral. In this interview, Ghislaine confirmed exactly what everyone has been saying all along. Epstein was silenced, so the elites connected to him won't get exposed. So far, more than 400 powerful individuals from all over the world have been exposed for their connection to Epstein's trafficking ring. Imagine how many more would have been exposed if Epstein hadn't been killed and allowed to speak out. 3 million redacted files held this information, and that's not even half of what was recovered.
Fox News alert: the Department of Justice just dropped last month's jailhouse interview with Epstein Madam Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's a doozy. First, she doesn't think Epstein killed himself.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he did. No.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And what about Epstein's infamous client list? Did he even have a list?
You never observed, or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of individuals who linked to certain masseuses or
Absolutely
anything
no.
like that?
Absolutely no. There is no list. There is no, I'm not aware of any blackmail. I never heard that, I never saw it, and I never imagined it.
The list doesn't exist? So flight manifests don't exist? The surveillance tapes don't exist? The bank records don't exist? A good portion of the interview focused on Bill Clinton. Author Daniel Halper told Primetime Clinton was romantically involved with Maxwell. Would Ghislaine sell out her old flame? And she was asked about Bill and said he never did anything inappropriate and that Bill never went to Epstein's island.
There's also the fact that whistleblowers like Katt Williams are being silenced. Katt said that the elites are starting to catch up to him, and it's only a matter of time before they get him too.
I infiltrate the Illuminati, find out what the fuck they got going on, get the information, run back to y'all, tell y'all everything I know. That's my motherfucking job. But I don't know how many more times I'm gonna be able to sneak in there. Thanks to Shannon Sharp and 90 million views.
He's actually really funny, obviously being a comedian. He's talking about that he was on Shannon Sharp's podcast, got 90 million views. Now he's been exposed. Everyone now knows that he's going and getting the intel and then sharing it. So he's presenting this information as a comedy skit, but he's actually talking truth right here.
While I was in there this last time, knowing that my last report might be my last report, I went in there and I got information for everybody. Look at my white friends. Us too? That's right, white secrets.
To give you an idea of just how much information is being kept from us, there are emails released by the DOJ where Epstein is clearly talking about trafficking victims to other elites. However, none of the files name these individuals. In fact, hundreds of thousands of files are completely redacted, so the people responsible won't be outed.
Question: which one do you prefer, lewd and lascivious conduct or procuring minors for prostitution? I suppose lewd and lascivious conduct. I would prefer lewd and lascivious conduct with a prostitute if possible. That exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on May 23, 2008 is part of some 18,000 emails from Epstein's personal Yahoo account obtained by Bloomberg News.
The emails, which suggest the inbox was most active between 2005 and 2008, include messages spanning 2002 to 2022. Epstein died in 2019, and emails received after that are largely spam or marketing offers. Overall, the emails offer a raw look into the disgraced financier and sex offender's world. While this inbox wasn't the only one he used, the newly uncovered emails do suggest how central Maxwell was to his life, something that contradicts her telling of events. She's characterized herself as a former girlfriend and property manager for Epstein, not someone with eyes into his vast influence machine or sex trafficking operation. She's currently serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse minors. Maxwell was central to curating Epstein's inner circle, according to these emails. In some emails, she's organizing visits with the likes of Sergey Brin and his then-girlfriend Anne Wojcicki.
Despite her crimes, Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security prison and given tons of luxuries, including her own puppy. One of the inmates at her prison said that her experience there is very different from anyone else's. She is treated very differently there. She made it known there's no remorse there. When the victims would be on TV and talking, she had complete disregard for them when they were pouring their hearts out in front of Congress, and for the files to be released.
I know for a fact she's getting special treatment.
Les Trent spoke to Sam Mangle, a prison consultant who has 3 clients at the same facility as Maxwell, the Bryan Federal Prison Camp in Texas.
Whether it's access to a laptop computer, which is unheard of, to visits where they lock down the camp and no one can leave their bunks while she's having visitors.
Allegations of other perks, according to the New York Times, include meals being delivered to her cell and being served bottled water while other inmates drink tap water, playing with service dogs, showering alone, and watching TV alone in staff-only areas. They even provided her with an umbrella to shade her from the hot Texas sun while she took her daily walks.
She's been given the freedom and liberties that the other inmates do not have.
Last July, Maxwell was moved from a medium security prison in Florida to the minimum security camp in Texas. This followed her meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. According to reports, fellow inmates at the facility were threatened with solitary confinement or transferred to a tougher penitentiary if they voiced complaints about Maxwell's perks.
They've been told from the day she got there, do not discuss her, do not put anything in writing, do not talk about her on the phone, do not make any trouble regarding Miss Maxwell, or we will move you to another location.
It's very clear that Maxwell is having a country club experience while she's locked up for the next 20 years, while we all know she's actually not going to be in jail for the next 20 years. The story continues to deepen, and every week that goes by, we get more information that I bring to you right here on the channel. Today, it was Ghislaine Maxwell diving deeper into her involvement with the Epstein Files. Tomorrow, it'll be more.